Some of you may have heard of the amazing feat produced by ISRO, or India's space agency, where they successfully inserted a probe into Mars's orbit on the first time of trying, for a relatively minuscule $66 million back in 2014. This made it the first space agency in the world to have a successful Mars mission on the first time of trying, plus it is the first Asian agency to get to Mars. This by itself is pretty impressive, but it's been in orbit for over 5 years now. Mangalyaan launched from India in 2013 on board an ISRO rocket designed to insert satellites into orbit around Earth. As the rocket didn't have the thrust needed to get Mangalyaan to Mars, the probe had to use some of its own fuel to leave Earth orbit, which it achieved gradually over several orbits. Upon arriving at Mars, it was inserted into a highly elliptical orbit. At its furthest point, Mangalyaan is almost 80,000 kilometers from Mars, and its closest approach takes it only 420 kilometers above its surface. This orbit is much different from NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which remains close to the Martian surface in order to image the surface at a much higher resolution. This is due to the different science goals of the missions. Mangalyaan does seem like more of a technology demonstration mission, although scientific instruments on board had a particular focus to study Mars's upper atmosphere. However, what I really like about this mission is that they put a pretty normal camera on board to image the Martian surface. This means the raw images are true color images, seeing Mars as you would see it if you were in orbit. Having a highly elliptical orbit also means we can view the whole of Mars in one go, reminiscent of the old NASA Viking missions. I must say that at this distance, Mars is a beautiful planet. The carbon dioxide and water ice caps are visible at the planet's poles. Various shades of rock sediment and dust patches across the surface provide an interesting contrast. Craters of various sizes span the planet. And of course, some of Mars's most interesting features are visible, like its long dormant shield volcanoes and huge valley structures. What's also visible, even from this distance, are some of Mars's famous giant dust storms. In this image, the dust storm spans thousands of kilometers across the northern hemisphere. These storms can last weeks to months, almost completely blocking sunlight from reaching the surface under the densest parts. Storms like these caused big issues for the solar-powered rovers Opportunity and Spirit. Some smaller storms can also be seen in some of the other global views of Mars. Orographic clouds are often seen over the volcanoes of Mars, and yes, these are water ice clouds. Although the atmosphere of Mars is a lot thinner than on Earth, and most of its water has been lost, there is still a small amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. And in this image, we see 3 smaller volcanoes, with orographic clouds forming over Elysium Mons, the center volcano. Orographic clouds form when air is forced higher as it moves over high terrain. During a closer approach over Elysium Mons, clouds are still visible, but more apparent are the trenches around the volcano. These are called fossa, trenches formed by the stretching of the plate they reside on, often caused on Mars by the sheer weight of the nearby volcanoes. The fossa widen as more material falls in. Think of it like a series of connected sinkholes on Earth, but instead of material being eroded under the surface causing the pit to open up like on Earth, on Mars the cause is due to a fault under the surface, sometimes up to 5 kilometers deep. A close-up examination of one of the fossa reveals something interesting. Right in the middle of this image, you can see what appears to be a tall, wavy structure. Mangalyaan inadvertently captured a giant dust devil, the shadow of which stretches out for several kilometers. Once you notice that one, you'll realize there's actually a few in the image, each with a long, windy shadow. Orographic clouds have also been seen over Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system. From the base to the peak, Olympus Mons is 3 times taller than Everest and is 600 kilometers wide. As a result, It is easily visible and recognizable even from this altitude. From this view, you can also easily see where lava from ancient eruptions has flowed down onto the plains surrounding the volcano. Looking a bit further across, you see 3 more big shield volcanoes, with a few smaller ones to the north. You'll also start to notice this weird patch, which looks almost like a labyrinth, aptly called Noctis labyrinthus. In a similar vein to the Elysium Fossa, Noctis labyrinthus is thought to have formed because of the huge volcanoes to the northwest, but this time perhaps due to collapsed magma chambers deep under the surface. Research is ongoing. Connected to Noctis labyrinthus is the famous scar of Mars, Valles Marineris. What I really love about these images is that, just like the Viking missions, water ice fog can be seen filling the chasm. This valley is 4,000 kilometers across, and channels seem to flow out of it to the east into chaos regions, similar but smaller than Noctis labyrinthus. This hemisphere of Mars is lower than the rest, which indicates these outflow channels, which do look a lot like river channels on Earth, flowed into a once ocean. Ground-based rovers have since uncovered further evidence for this ocean, finding hydrated minerals in these regions. Another really interesting visual landmark on Mars is Kasai Valles, north of Valles Marineris. Again, this shows a very interesting outflow channel, starting in the east and flowing to the west, depositing into the same region but further north as Valles Marineris in the south. Most scientists propose these channels are carved out by mega flooding events in the distant past, when liquid water was abundant on the Martian surface. There's also some argument that glaciers carved out these channels. In fact, there are a lot of outflow regions heading into this once ocean. Here's Ares Vallis, again probably carved out by mega flooding events. All these channels are too wide to have supported a constant river system, at least at this size. A very large yet odd crater-like structure can be seen from the Mangalyaan images. This is Orcus Patera, 380 kilometers long at its longest point. Scientists are a bit baffled about how this could have formed. Craters are always circular, plus Orcus Patera isn't very deep at only 500 meters. Volcanic activity could be a cause, but there's no caldera. And so there have been no theories that scientists can settle on so far. What do you think it could be?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, +1, 2. Lift-off normal. T1 tracking. T2 tracking. T4 tracking.
September 24th, 2014. A calm morning in Bengaluru belies the fact this is the moment of truth for one of India's most daring missions. Its first interplanetary journey to Mars. Stations at Sriharikota, Port Blair, Brunei and Indonesia send signals confirming the success of the first 3 launch phases. The rocket then cruises for 26 minutes over the South Pacific Ocean, and none of the ground stations can get signals from it for 10 minutes. This is followed by the crucial 4th stage, when Mangalyaan separates from the launch vehicle and is thrown into orbit. Communication is crucial at this stage. This is where the 2 ships have a key role. The team is on edge, waiting for the signal that all is going as per plan. The first ship monitors the ignition of the rocket engine. A few minutes later, the second ship monitors craft separation. Mangalyaan is finally sent into an elliptical orbit around Earth. After a successful launch, Mangalyaan has been put on an elliptical orbit around Earth. Over the next 25 days, scientists will fire up Mangalyaan's engine 6 times to raise the orbit and increase its velocity high enough so it can escape Earth's sphere of influence. The 4th time the engine fired up, it underperformed and did not reach the targeted velocity. This means Mangalyaan would have to use extra fuel to make up for the shortfall. After much deliberation, the team decides on firing up the engine for 1 extra time to ensure Mangalyaan speeds up to the required velocity. Mangalyaan is now gearing up to bid goodbye to Earth and make its way towards Mars. A new chapter in India's space odyssey has begun.
May I request our esteemed faculties and our students to kindly take their seats. We have our guest here with us, and we'll be starting our program shortly. Ladies and gentlemen and students, I request you all to kindly take your seats. We have our chief guest here, and we'll be starting with our program shortly. All our faculty members, esteemed faculty members and our students are requested to take their seat in the right-hand corner of the auditorium. Sir, madam, may I request you all to kindly take your seats in the right-hand side of this auditorium. Students, those who have come in just now, I request you all to please take the right-hand side of the auditorium. The right-hand top corner of the auditorium is still free. You may go and take your seats there. Our guest is just about to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, our students, I request you all to kindly settle down as fast as possible. And once again, I request our audience to kindly keep their mobiles on a silent mode. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause and a standing ovation for Padma Shri, Dr. Subbiah Arunan. We welcome you here, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us. A big round of applause and a standing ovation. Good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all present here today. It is with immense pride and excitement that we gather here yet again on this momentous occasion celebrating the year-long 25th anniversary of Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Durgapur. Over the past 25 years, this institution has been a beacon of excellence in engineering education, fostering innovation, research, and technological advancements, shaping the future of countless students who have gone on to take significant and make significant contributions to the society. Today, we are extremely privileged and honored to have with us an eminent speaker who epitomizes the spirit of scientific inquiry and technological innovation, Padma Shri Dr. Subbiah Arunan, who is an eminent scientist at the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, and is here today with us to share his wealth of knowledge and insights. As a leading expert in the field of space science and technology, Dr. Arunan has made invaluable contributions to India's space mission, including his involvement in various high-profile projects such as Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan missions. Dr. Arunan's pioneering work has not only contributed to ISRO's stellar achievements, but has also inspired generations of engineers and scientists to think beyond the ordinary, to push the boundaries of what is possible. We are truly honored to have him here today and extremely eager to be a part of his deliberation on the Mars orbiter mission. As we celebrate 25 years of academic excellence and look forward to many years ahead, we are reminded of the vital role that science and technology play in shaping a better tomorrow. Dr. Arunan's presence today reinforces this message, encouraging us all to dream big, work diligently, and contribute to the ever-evolving world of innovation. With this, may I now have the honor of inviting our distinguished guests to ornate the days with their kind presence. May I also request my esteemed faculty colleagues and student volunteers to kindly help our dignitaries to the days. Padma Shri Dr. Subbiah Arunan, Distinguished Scientist and Director, Project Director, Mars Orbiter Mission, ISRO Headquarters, Bangalore. Sir, please. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Dr. Shotajit Bose, President, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, and Chairman, the Mission Hospital, Durgapur. Sir, please. Honorable Sri Torun Bhattacharya, General Secretary, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, Durgapur. Sir, please. Honorable Professor Dr. Shoikot Moitro, Chief Advisor, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, Durgapur. Sir. Honorable Sri Janal Singh, Treasurer, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, Durgapur. Sir, please. Madam Meeta Mitro, Honorable Vice President, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, Durgapur. Ma'am. And Honorable Professor Dr. Sanjay S. Power, Principal, Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Durgapur. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. May I now also have the honor and proud privilege of introducing our esteemed dignitaries of the days. Honorable Professor Dr. A. Shivaraman, Professor and Head of the Department, Information Technology, Netaji Subhash University of Technology. We have with us Professor Dr. Rajiv Roy, Principal, Dr. B.C. Roy Academy of Professional Courses, Durgapur. Professor Dr. Shomir Shamanto, Principal, Dr. B.C. Roy College of Pharmacy and Allied Health Sciences, Durgapur. And Professor Dr. Chandan Kumar Ghosh, Principal, Dr. B.C. Roy College of Polytechnic, Durgapur. May I now have the honor of requesting our Honorable General Secretary, Sri Tarun Bhattacharya, to kindly felicitate our Honorable Chief Guest of the Day, Padma Shri, Dr. Subbiah Arunan, with a flower bouquet, an ottorio, and a memento. May I also request my esteemed faculty colleague, Professor Shukarna Demondol, along with our student volunteers, to kindly assist our dignitaries in the proceedings. Sir, please. We are now felicitating Dr. Arunan with an Uttoryo. A round of applause, audience. Now a memento is being presented on behalf of Dr. B.C. Roy Society. Thank you once again for this meaningful contribution. Let this plant's growth mirror the success and progress we anticipate. With hearts full of hope and hands ready to work, we look forward to the bright future ahead. Thank you all once again for being a part of this very special and memorable moment. Dr. Bose is the president of Dr. B.C. Roy Society that encompasses an autonomous engineering college and management institute, pharmacy and allied health sciences college, a polytechnic college, and a college for professional studies. He is also the pioneering chairman and senior cardiothoracic surgeon of the Mission Hospital, Durgapur. A celebrity surgeon has performed over more than 35,000 complex cardiac surgical operations, including mitral and aortic valve repair, aortic root and arc surgeries with small incision cardiac surgeries. He has pioneered total arterial bypass surgery and valve repair surgery in Eastern India. He was awarded the Times Lifetime Leadership Award for his contribution towards the society, and has also set up the Mission Neighborhood in Asansol, and a premium eye care facility has been created by the name of Divita Eye Care Hospital in Durgapur, which is accredited by NABH and is acknowledged as the 5th best eye hospital. Dr. Bose is now the president-elect of the Indian Association of Cardiothoracic Surgeons. Dr. Bose operates on all children below 18 years absolutely free of cost to the end user in association with several NGOs and social organizations like Rotary, Government of West Bengal. With a large heart for the poor and needy, his team has started operating absolutely free of cost for adult patients requiring heart surgeries under various government schemes. He personally donates liberally for upkeep and maintenance of girl children in association with Lily Foundation, Bharat Shivashram Shangho, and Belur Mott. He has also adopted 2 girl children at home as well. He arranges free annual executive health checkup for senior citizens in Asansol and Durgapur under a program christened Naman. With this, may I now have the honor and proud privilege of requesting Dr. Satyajit Bose, President, Dr. B.C. Roy Society, Durgapur, and Chairman, the Mission Hospital, Durgapur, to kindly render his welcome address. So please.
Good afternoon, everybody. And I extend a very warm welcome to all of you at this Silver Jubilee celebration of Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College. And it is an honor to be here with such distinguished guests and members of our esteemed institutions. We are delighted to have with us Dr. Subbiah Arunan, a pioneering leader behind India's Mars Orbiter mission, which showcased our country's capabilities in low-cost access to deep space. His achievements have not only brought India to the forefront of space exploration, but also inspired countless individuals in the fields of science and engineering. I would also like to acknowledge our esteemed guests and members of the BCRAC Society, Mr. Tarun Bhattacharya, General Secretary, Mr. Janil Singh, Treasurer, Mrs. Mitra, who's the Vice President and Principal, and Dr. Shoikat Mitra, who's been the Vice Chancellor of the WVUT, the Macaut University, and is with us as the Chief Advisor, and whose hand we are going to hold for becoming bigger and bigger and becoming center of excellence. We also have with us my dear Thambi, Professor Sivaraman. He is the professor of IT in Netaji Subhas Institute of Technology, who is among us here today. And he is also a big man who's about to bring about a lot of changes and hand-holding with us as well. So as we gather to celebrate the 25 years of excellence, we reflect on this remarkable journey of our institution. From our humble beginnings, we have grown into an autonomous institute with an impressive record of 100% placements across all disciplines. Our accreditation by the NAC and the NBA stands testament to our commitment to quality education. Furthermore, we are in the process of becoming a self-funded private university, which we anticipate will be realized very soon. And I want to make a small little information to you that we have Dr. Subbiah Arunan with us, who's at the helm of space research and and Mars and Mangalyaan and everything. So he wants to give you all an opportunity to be imbibed into the space science. And if any one of you wants to gets himself imbibed into this space mindset, then I will request you that please meet our principal, Professor Sanjay Pawar, and he will guide you into how to get, but you must be passionate about this. Then only can you become imbibed into this space science and space technology and be a part of this program that sends vehicles into the space. Today's celebration is not just about looking back, it is about looking forward. Dr. Arunan's story of dedication and passion and excellence serves as a beacon of inspiration for all of us. Let us absorb this knowledge he shares today and find motivation in our own fields of expertise. Thank you again for being here to celebrate this significant milestone with us. Let us make this event a memorable one as we continue our journey towards our excellence and innovation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your warm and welcoming words. Professor Dr. Shoikat Mitra is the Chief Advisor of Dr. B.C. Roy Society and is not just an academic leader and administrator who formerly served as the Vice Chancellor of the Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, West Bengal, but has also led several administrative and academic positions, including the Chairman of Artificial Intelligence Task Force of the State of West Bengal and expert member of the Committee of State Education Policy. Professor and Principal in charge of Government Colleges of Engineering and Ceramic Technology, Kolkata, Principal in charge of RCC Institute of Information Technology, Kolkata, and Senior Scientist in Central Fuel Research Institute, Dhanbad, presently Central Institute of Mining and Fuel Research, Dhanbad. Dr. Moitro has also served in various positions in professional and administrative organizations, including Executive Council member of the Indian Society for Technical Education and as convener NAC, as chairman of peer team members for different institutes and universities. He is the recipient of SS Bhatnagar Award in Chemical Science from Indian Science Congress in the year 2019. He is a member of several academic, administrative, professional organizations, including the Indian National Science Congress Association and the Material Research Society of India. He has visited several countries for delivering lectures that include USA, UK, Australia, Italy, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Bahrain, Thailand, and many more. With this, may I now have the honor of inviting Professor Dr. Shoikot Moitro, Chief Advisor, Dr. B.C. Roy Society Group, to kindly render his introductory speech. So please.
Good afternoon, all the dignitaries who are present at the dais, the center of attraction for today's program, Professor Subbiah Arunan, General Secretary of B.C. Roy Society, Mr. Tarun Bhattacharya, President of this B.C. Roy Society, Dr. Satyajit Datta, Treasurer, Jarnail Singh, Vice President Mita Mitra, and other and most important stakeholder, of course, principals of Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Dr. Sanjay Pawar, and those who are sitting in front of me, including principals of other constituent colleges, faculty members, administrative functionaries, and most importantly, the student communities. Now this B.C. Roy Society, it has got 4 constituent colleges right now, but as Dr. Satyajit Bose, he already announced that we are in the process of establishing a state-of-the-art university for the first time at this area, and we have many agendas and many these milestones to achieve in near future that include to make all the colleges, constituent colleges, more visible in academic arena, particularly with respect to different accreditation assessment process, NAC accreditation process, INBI accreditation process, to take all these colleges in ranking this scenario, particular NIRF ranking and others ranking, Times ranking, QS ranking and other rankings in near future. And the university which we are going to establish, that will not be a mere just like another university which we are habituated to see. And many parts of this country, we have a dream. In 1963, 28th August probably, Martin Luther King Jr., he started his speech with the famous line, "I have a dream." Here all of us have a dream to make a university with a difference, with a distinction. And that should be an active hub of churning knowledge, generating knowledge in different areas which are conducive for the growth and development of the society, of the community, of the humanity, in areas like this agriculture, healthcare, social science, the high-tech engineering programs, information technologies, legal affairs. We are going to foster the cultures of collaborative and interdisciplinary research, and research which are conducive for the boosting of economy, for providing employment for the large sections of this country, which is a burning requirement right now for taking part actively in economy, providing employment, giving rise to this developing these entrepreneurial and enterprising skills among all the stakeholders, teachers, students, and others. And we are confident that with our combined effort, this is going to be achieved in near future. And this place has got many strategic advantages, and it is going to be connected more and more by rail, by road, by air, and anything is formidable. Any venture is venture which is good and productive and useful for betterment of everything is formidable here. we are forging alliances with different, these organizations to strengthen all these activities, academic associations, industrial associations, and we are developing relationship with stalwarts in different fields of academics. Dr. Sivaraman is with us. He is representing one top-notch universities of this country, which is probably within the 10th grade of this in NIRF ranking. But we will be in near future, we will be taking help of different personalities like Dr. Arunan. Last time, you know that Professor Nambinarayan came, and we can commit that in near future you will be seeing the presence of more and more illustrious figures on these days, probably here or at the college campus itself. And we will be trying to take maximum benefit of their presence and of their association with the society and with all our projects in future. With this, best wishes for me for the grand success of today's programs, and my sincerest thanks to Dr. Arunan for responding to our call and to coming over here for in spite of his busy schedule and very important, these activities. He find out some time to come over here, and Dr. Sivaraman also. He was also maintaining very busy schedule. I personally know all these things. That's why I would like to extend my sincerest thanks to him, and thanks to all of you to come over here for making it successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your profound and erudite address. With this, may I now have the honor of introducing our chief guest of the day, Padma Shri, Dr. Subbiah Arunan, and let me brief you all about his work and achievements. Sir, please be seated. I'll just read out your bio note. Dr. Subbiah Arunan, distinguished scientist and director, Project Director, Mars Orbiter Mission, ISRO Headquarters, Bangalore, an accomplished executive with 38 years of experience in management of complex space missions and programs, Project Director who led the realization of India's Mars Orbiter mission that demonstrated low-cost access to deep space, persuasive and resolute leader with a proven track record of realizing challenging space missions with exceptional throughput, work experience in a wide array of key spacecraft and launch vehicle technologies, a distinguished scientist and director in the Indian Space Research Organization, held several important positions in ISRO in the domains of cryogenic propulsion for GSLV and rocket control system for PSLV. While at the ISRO Satellite Center, Bangalore, now URSC, has been instrumental in the realization of Chandrayaan-1, the first Indian mission to Moon and Mars Orbiter mission. As Project Director, Mars Orbiter mission led the team to successfully accomplish a unique and rare feat in the arena of international deep space mission, the Mars Orbiter mission of India, Mangalyaan, paving way for low-cost access to deep space and frugal engineering concepts, making India the first country in Asia to reach Mars and the first country in the world to reach Mars in its first attempt. The Indian Mars mission set a goal of high challenge and risk, which motivated and inspired the younger generation scientists, engineers within ISRO, as well as in the country. Led project management to ensure realization within $37 million budget and a stringent schedule of 18 months to meet the 2013 launch opportunity, integral part of the Mangalyaan team, which received several national and international accolades in recognition of their pioneering contribution. Recipient of many awards, including the Padma Shri Award of the Government of India for distinguished service in the area of science and engineering for the year 2015 from Karnataka. His other awards include Karnataka Rajyotsava Award 2024, Lokmanya Tilak Award 2015, Performance Excellence Award of ISRO 2015, Team Excellence Award of ISRO for Mars Orbiter Mission 2013, Team Excellence Award of ISRO for Chandrayaan Mission 2008. With this, ladies and gentlemen, may I once again welcome and request our chief guest to kindly take the stage and start with his presentation. Sir, please.
Good afternoon. Really, it is a great pleasure and honor to be a part of the esteemed institution on its 25th Silver Jubilee anniversary, Dr. P.C. Rai College of Engineering. Really, I was amazed, to be frank with you, on the reception by the team and the members, president and treasurer of P.C. Rai Society, the excellence they want this institution to go up and up in space is really heartening. And definitely in the entire of that society's wish, probably ISRO is with you to ensure that the younger generation, even one or two of this whole society, if I'm able to take them into the fold of space in India, I am successful. So, I thank Dr. Bose, President of the Dr. P.C. Rai Society, and Tarun Bhattacharya, Secretary, and the Treasurer, Mr. Singh, and Mr. Sainik Malik of Chief Advisor, and Madam Vice President, and Professor Sivaraman, Professor JUST, Delhi. Thank you for this great opportunity provided to me. So briefly, I will be talking about a Mars Orbiter mission, one of the successful mission of Indian Space Research Organization in reaching Mars in its first attempt. Probably don't be rattled, be informal, don't be rattled by the pictures and the graphs which I show in the part of the presentation. Mission is very complex, so I will try to put in a better layman language so that you people can understand and come back to me with a lot of questions. I like questions because the mission when we undertook for the first time, there was no one in the country to review the project because none has gone to Mars to tell me what is wrong, what is right. So one of the methods which I employed was to call all the people, let it be doctors, let it be academicians, let it be some social activities, to come and listen to my presentation on how I plan to go to Mars and invite questions from them. See, to me, I'm seeing every day my profile, my mission, a trajectory, and it may look good to me, but a third-person perspective. And I assembled all the ISRO engineers in one hall on various occasions who are connected or not connected with the mission to tell me whether I am right. That gave me a lot of questions, and that questions, lakhs and lakhs of questions I must say. the way in which satellite can perform badly, way in which satellites can go bad, way in which sun can pull you, all this, where really we got solutions from the questions and we mastered it. Like any software company today, they first release a software for you in a beta version, ask the whole world to give comments on that. And they release an operational version later for commercial purposes. Same mechanism was adopted because this technology is a guarded technology and you won't get it from any country who has gone to Mars. And there were a lot of skepticism in whole world about the complexity of the mission, and none of them has achieved a success in its first attempt, which made us to really think more, and we feared more also, and we took a lot of risk, I must say, and we learned that we should only risk-based, more risk, more gain. Next slide, please. Should I change it here? So as you know, this more than technology mission, as you know, the project management aspect also is more important here. So because finally it matters, the man, material and hours and the money matters. So we had primarily a technological objectives. See, it is not that we have gone to moon before we attempted for Mars, but moon and Mars mission are not the same. As you know that this is an interplanetary mission, which means you are going out of the spell of the gravity of the Earth, go into the solar system as a planet and try to reach Mars. So you are circling around the sun like Earth and reach Mars. But moon being, says, something like 9 lakhs or 5 lakhs kilometers from here, it is part of Earth. As you know that moon and Earth has got a single gravitational system in which both are revolving around sun as a joined one. Because our gravity, if you know, sphere of influence we call, the 9.8 meter per second square which you learned, goes up to 9 lakhs kilometers, which means up to 9 lakhs kilometers from the surface of the Earth, no one can escape. It will pull you down. So moon being in 5 lakhs is a natural satellite of Earth. It is not considered as an interplanetary mission. So it is a satellite at a higher altitude. But here the challenges are, we have to circle Earth and we have to go into the solar system as a mass transfer trajectory around the sun and get into Martian phase. Basically there are 3 phases which are complex. So we want to have the capability to perform these maneuvers around Earth, get into the solar system as a transfer trajectory and insert the satellite into Mars gravity, whose influence is something like 4 lakhs kilometers from the Mars surface. The gravity. So gravity influence matters much for this, because once you are in the solar system, all the planets will pull you, push you, especially Sun, whose gravity and mass is more. They will have very great influence on the spacecraft. So I will explain you the accuracy with which we need to go and the technologies involved, the challenges faced in the whole mission. And first time we are having a communication in deep space, which means we have to communicate with the spacecraft, which is something like 400 million kilometers away from the space, which we have never done before. We have communicated up to say 5 lakhs with moon, but 400 million is a huge communication requirement, because that communication requirement only makes the navigation also possible, which means you will be able to decide the position and velocity of the spacecraft once you are able to communicate only. So the deep space communication and navigation and the mission planning and management was also tough for a reason. One command from the ground reaches the spacecraft in 25 minutes. Never we have come across such a situation in the moon mission or any of our satellite missions, which means I need to wait 25 minutes for the command to reach the spacecraft, and another 25 minutes for me to know whether it has reached the spacecraft and taken action. So it's quite challenging. So once we give a command, when we find there is no response from spacecraft, which we were not used to, it was a perplexing moment for us, whether it is reached, whether acknowledgement has come from the satellite about the communication reception. So all these issues we have never faced till prior to the Mars mission. So the management of the mission was also quite tough. Then what happens, as I told, that communication delays causes a lot of problems or a lot of influence of the solar system into the satellite. We need to have a full autonomy done for the spacecraft, which means we have to employ, say, whatever we call it as today, artificial intelligence we did years back in the spacecraft, which means spacecraft is fully autonomous. We have never made a spacecraft fully autonomous till then. Means even if I am not able to communicate and it finds a problem, it will correct the problem and keep going. So we call it as a fault detection logic, which I will explain as a part of this. Probably you would have studied in your fourth semester or fifth semester part. So those are also part of. So which means satellite has to be made fully autonomous. And we had some science objectives, though that was not a primary aim of this mission. We wanted to explore Mars surface features, morphology, mineralogy, and their atmosphere. And as a part of this, we carried some 10 kilograms of the payload, some 5 payloads. But they were not primary objectives. Primary objective was the technological objective of reaching the planet from the Earth. This is a spacecraft on-orbit configuration, which you see here. I have labeled the important elements like solar array, which generates power for the spacecraft, and the propellant tank, which you see on the top, which holds the propellant. And you have 3 antennas. You can see low gain antenna, medium gain antenna, and high gain antenna, meant for communication during various phases of the mission. And the payloads, which are in the Mars facing view of the spacecraft. And those antennas are meant for communication, and the solar array is meant for the power generation. And these were the science payloads which we carried. First 2 is basically a photometer or spectrometer, you call it, to analyze the spectrum for atmospheric purposes. And for plasma and particle environment studies, we had one payload, exospheric neutral composition analyzer. And we wanted to take an atlas of the Mars, a perfect optical image of the Mars, with a color camera and an infrared camera. So these are the salient features of the spacecraft. For any spacecraft, we will have these systems as base systems. Probably one is the mass, which we are really worried about. Every gram matters in spacecraft, as you may be aware. And the structure, basic structure, which holds all the system. And the mechanism. As you know, the solar panel and the reflectors for antenna are unwieldy in size, which cannot be contained in the launch vehicle during the launch phase. We need to stow them. And on reaching the orbit, we will deploy them to a normal position for the purpose of communication. So you need some mechanisms to deploy them in space. And the propulsion system to give the kind of energies for the spacecraft to get into the intended orbit, both in the earthbound mission, in the Mars transfer trajectory, and Mars insertion phase. And the thermal system, which controls the spacecraft thermally to keep all the system under a particular operating temperature of 20 degrees, irrespective of the outside temperature. Whether sun faces a spacecraft or Earth or Mars, your spacecraft should be in one single temperature of 20 plus or minus 0.5. And the power system, which has got a solar array, which generates 840 watt in Martian orbit, and a battery of 36 ampere hours. So our sizing and all, if you see, you can compare what is in Earth. Ours will be very little. You can see in 840 watts is some very small power, that is enough. So our data rates will be very less. all will be very less. That is enough for a satellite. Even for advanced satellites, we don't need high speed or high watt or high power batteries. First of all, we cannot carry them for the purpose of the weight. So every gram, as I told, matters. And then attitude and heartbeat control system. This is one system which I want to concentrate a bit more because it involves a lot of engineering, wherein you need to maintain the attitude of the spacecraft in all the phases of the mission and ensure that spacecraft faces the Earth during all the phases, and upon reaching Mars, it faces the Mars. And during the course of its travel, the attitude to hold on to the antenna to the Earth is maintained always. And the telecommand and telemetry system which gives command to the spacecraft, and the telemetry system which gives those parameters back to the Earth on the performance of the spacecraft, and the radio frequency system which communicates with the spacecraft. So this is where we start. I think probably no one has seen how the spacecraft at the first looks like. This is a bare carbon fiber tank. You see the black is a cylinder and aluminum frames round. And this is the first hardware we receive, wherein all the electronic packages and the tanks and the antennas will be held at the later phases. So this is nothing but a cuboid made out of carbon fiber, and it weighs something like, you can say, 4 kg or so, though it looks so big, it weighs is so small. And the propulsion system, don't worry about those complicated drawing. What you need is a oxidizer, we need an oxidizer tank. How much we call it as MON3. So we need a fuel and oxidizer, as you normally do in the kitchen, when you need an oxidizer and a fuel. And both are kept in a tank, and they are pressurized by some pressurant from the top of the pressurant tank at some 25 bar pressure. And you see the last the lamp engine, which is called liquid approach motor, which is a rocket engine, which both oxidizer and fuel burns, and you get the thrust for the spacecraft to get out of orbit or get into the orbit, whatever maneuvers you want to do. So this is a propulsion system. So we have put lot of redundancy in the system so that even the one system fails, another system takes over, because we cannot have any compromise on this, because this is a mission critical, a single point failure system. So here the criticalities what we achieved. Yes, the propulsion system features are like this. First, in the structure, we insert the propellant tank to the structure inside the cylinder. And these thrust levels, engines are 440 newtons, very low thrust level. That is enough in the space to make the spacecraft to have imparted velocity for both trans-Mars injection and for Martian orbit insertion. So we had small thrusters of 8 numbers, 22 Newton, to keep the station, which is to keep always a small disturbances to be stabilized by the small thrusters. And the large thruster, 440 Newton, will give the major velocity to leave the Earth once, and after 10 months, it will again operate to get the spacecraft inserted into the Mars orbit. So this is a two modes of function which he has to do. There is some criticality involved in that, probably I will explain. So what happens is, these liquid engines which we call 440 Newton engine, which is throughout all the world, this is a normal engine employed by all the space agencies, has got one problem. This can only work at one single burn. Means it will do the job and you have to shut off. Because basically the oxidizer and the fuel are corrosive in nature. When you work for, say, something like 10 minutes and 20 minutes, you cannot again restart this engine. That is a sad part of this whole engine, and never has been attempted by any space agency to restart this engine in space. But we need to do this for our own reasons. that once this engine works in the leaving the earth by imparting some velocity, I have to shut off and restart this engine in Mars after 10 months. So a corrosive nature, we don't know how it behaves and whether it will restart or not. If it doesn't restart, that's all, the mission is a failure. So we did elaborate test as a part of this. We simulated the whole Mars condition in Earth and did something like 12 or 13 numbers of tests to ensure that it restarts, and upon restarting also it gives the necessary velocity or thrust to get into Martian orbit. See, probably some of the European Space Agency project managers actually warned me, saying that you are taking a risk, saying that this engine will never start. But we were doubly sure this will start, and we have proved to the world also this can restart also. And the power system, as you know, that in Mars being away from Sun compared to Earth, you get only 1/3 of the solar flux in Mars. So we need to have the solar panel sized accordingly, which means, as you know, the mean, Mars you will get 589 watts per meter square of solar panel, where in Earth you will get 1367, almost 1.3 kilowatt. So we need to have a sizing done. We cannot go for a higher size, we cannot go for a lower size. We should have a correct size to ensure that the proper packages get the proper power supply. And one more issue we had is, in eclipse, which is probably more in Mars orbit, the temperature will go down up to minus 120 or 130 degrees centigrade. So solar panel has to work and generate power even at that lowest temperature, which means when the operating condition is minus 120, normal rocket philosophy or spacecraft philosophy is that we put another 50 degree more on that and have to qualify that to have allow the margins to play. So which means I have to qualify for minus 200 degrees centigrade. And minus 200 degrees centigrade, I think there is no facility in the world to test such kind. There is only one facility in Norway. So we simulate those conditions in our laboratory and tested the solar panels at minus 200 degrees centigrade to ensure that it works and the efficiency remains the same even all the phases of the temperature. So that is also one of the biggest challenges which we faced when we go to Mars. And the communication system. This is one important system and must be interesting for the electronics and communication branch of people. So we need to have a communication management during earthbound phase, which is around the earth, and the cruise phase, which means on the solar system, and Mars orbit insertion phase and the Martian phase after reaching Mars also. So the maximum range works out to be 375 million kilometers, which means we need to communicate a margin over this. We put some 400 million communicate is the range which we have to communicate with the spacecraft and get the data also from the spacecraft. So we use S-band deep space frequencies which are specifically allotted by International Union for the commanding purpose, which is called TTC, and for the payload data transfer from Mars to Earth. So we used some kind of TWDC we call, but probably you will be aware of that, 230 watts of traveling wave tube amplifiers, and we had 2.2 meter diameter antenna, which gives enough sufficient margin for the power. And the other part is the minus 135 dBm sensitivity of the receiver, which means is a sensitivity is so accurate here, so stringent here I will say, which means you are communicating, it's like a whisper in an active football stadium. So you are in a system, in solar system where the cosmic noises are more, your communication signal has to have this kind of sensitivity for the spacecraft to receive. So minus 135 dBm carrier receiver is a very, very big challenge which we mastered with the meter antenna in India. So we need to get the support of NASA, who have 70-meter antenna in Australia, in Spain and California. So in case we lose a spacecraft, a nightmare for any satellite project director is losing the spacecraft from the range of the radar. You should be always in communication with the satellite. The moment it is lost, recovering the spacecraft is not so easy. So your totally mission is gone. So we need to recover. So we wanted NASA support in case we lose. They have the antenna for that in the ground. So the mid-gain antenna is used in case we are lost in space with the support of 70-meter antenna in Australia. Other than that, all other up to 400 million kilometers, we have our own antenna, 32-meter antenna in Bangalore. Probably any of you want to visit also, is one of the big state-of-art technology. You can visit. This is one criticality. As you know that when the satellite travels, any satellite for that matter, when it travels towards any planet, Mars, what the basic information you need is every instant you should know the position and velocity of the spacecraft. That is the most important factor which we calculate. That position and velocity gives you all the navigational parameters about the navigational pattern, whether it follows the trajectory which we intend to follow. All this happens once you know the position. So forget about that. We model that as a part of this. And in case we find a deviation, we have got a fixed trajectory, design trajectory done. Spacecraft need not go in the design trajectory because of the perturbation caused by the sun, moon and every planet will try to pull away from the design trajectory. Once you know the position, okay, it has gone away from the intended trajectory for reaching Mars, we should model that as a part of ground, and the real world also will tell you, the instruments will tell you, I am in a different position than what you intended. And the dynamic model is iterated as a part of this. This is one of the challenges. And as you know, Mars is also a planet traveling at 1 lakh kilometers, and you are also traveling. It's like a Tom and Jerry race in space, probably. So the position, accuracy of the measurement, you should know within 1 centimeter. The position should be known to us in 1 centimeter, velocity in 0.1 millimeter per second. So this is one thing, is a very critical thing, because you are playing with a natural planet. You are chasing a natural planet which goes as per cosmic rules, which doesn't listen to you, which doesn't change also. So you should have that kind of accuracy, and the angle with which it goes in the space, in the sky, should be measured with 5 nanoradians. So these technology elements, probably this is one of the fantastic project to improve upon. This is where JPL or Jet Propulsion Laboratory of NASA, they have mastered this, wherein the pure mathematics people sit on this problem of this modeling. The orbit determination is one project. Probably for interplanetary mission, it is so critical as you know the parameters. So we employed, see, if you see, even if you vary by 5 meters in a 1,000 kilometer range, you are missing the planet. So this is an accuracy with which you need to travel towards space. So for which we employed one delta differential one-way ranging. This is a new technique never employed in space so far, but employed by Americans and Europeans. This is one of the projects also for you people to take it up. What we do as a part of this is to have an accuracy of navigating in a solar system. You use a quasar. The quasars are like stars which are million and millions kilometers, light years away, but they emit radio frequency waves. So what you do, the quasar is a guiding light for the satellite, which goes out of the earth. So at a pre-planned time, in Australia there is one antenna of JPL, NASA. In California there is another antenna which is geographically separated by 6,000 more kilometers. These will be positioned by a planned operation towards observing a quasar. The quasar will give a radio frequency wave in a particular frequency. That frequency is enough to tell me which quasar it is. We have got a quasar catalog done by Americans. Then once you know that quasar, the location of the quasar is known, then I again tilt the antenna to spacecraft, get a signal from the spacecraft, compare the quasar position and the satellite position, and come to a conclusion by a correlation technique, which is more important, to know how off I am. So first time, you don't have a GPS there to navigate, so you should understand that also. So you don't have a GPS for going to moon or Mars. So you have to depend on celestial objects like quasars or stars to guide you all the way to the planet or wherever you want to go. So this is the quasar technique. Normally we use stars as a guiding for all other satellite mission. For interplanetary mission, we use quasars for the first time. And this is an involved topic, and even now it is getting improved, and this can be one of the project elements for the people who are passionate about ranging, communicating and navigating. And autonomy, as I told, at the round trip time for a spacecraft commanding and to reach me will take 42 minutes approximately. It is impractical to micromanage a mission. In that 42 minutes, if anything happens to spacecraft, you are losing the spacecraft from the antenna. So what normally we do is, as a part of this, if the spacecraft finds a problem in its system for its functioning, it won't tell the ground. It will shut off all the equipments and point towards sun. This is written, a program is written. Get the power, keep it in a healthy condition, and it will not operate, and tell the ground, I am not okay. So the ground team should ensure from that data what happened, which system has malfunctioned. Then put a corrective software patch, then bring back the spacecraft from the sun pointing mode to earth pointing mode. So always you should look earth. Once it looks at sun means there is a problem with the spacecraft. So what we have done is, as a part of this, we should deliberate by a team of people. We almost concluded almost more than 1 or 1.5 lakhs of combination of problems spacecraft. So you have to identify those failure modes in ground and write a software to ensure that autonomy logic works. So we call fault detection. We will detect first the fault, isolate the fault, then reconfigure to the redundant system so that spacecraft keeps moving. So this autonomy normally we do it from the ground, but this first time we gave it to the spacecraft to do it on its own, because my time to reach the spacecraft by a signal takes 42 minutes. I can't wait till the time. So spacecraft itself will identify the fault, isolate the fault, change it to the redundant system and keep going without telling the ground. Later on we will know what happened to the spacecraft. So this normally what happens, the eclipse, communication interruption, all these phases, this autonomy works as a part of the spacecraft. So this took us a long time, in fact. We had a lot of deliberation with our young engineers, and everybody will come out with what way spacecraft can goof off. So millions and millions of combinations, that Monte Carlo simulation probably would have studied as a part of it. This is one part where we have to write 22 new software modules, and the existing 42 modules we changed it, and these modules were extensively tested in the ground, simulating the particular failures. We call it as oils and hills. That is hardware in-loop simulation, and software is software in-loop simulation. We do this simulation in the ground and ensure that FDIR logic works even in space. This is the first time we gave this kind of autonomy to the spacecraft to act on its own, because my time delay is more in reaching the spacecraft. And this is another sensor, which is called star sensor, which keeps the inertial attitude. That means attitude knowledge, how far it is away from the Earth pointing. Spacecraft should point to Earth or Mars when it reaches Mars. These star sensors are two sensors which you see, which are dark basically. So what they do is, they have got a detector and they look at some stars, and in one cone, 4 stars or 5 stars if they come, sunlight should not enter into this sensor. That star light intensity will fall. The star light intensity, like sun intensity, will fall on the detector. The light intensity of any star, no stars are same light intensity. So light intensity with which it falls onto the sensor, we will identify which star. A little catalog is done. For a particular light intensity, this is a star. So moment that light intensity falls onto the sensor, immediately the control system will refer the catalog, find out the star, and the position of the star is known, from which the position of the spacecraft will be computed by the logic. So this is one of the critical star sensor, because if sun gets into this, the whole sun star illumination I won't get. So it is a darkest space you have to provide, and it should not face sun at any time of the mission. So you should position in such a way that it only looks at stars. So this is a major star sensor, which is a guiding sensor for us in navigating in space. So either through stars or through quasars, only we can have a perfect navigation done, and the quasars and star position and their catalogs are well documented. It is available even the open source also in Google. And the accelerometer, moment you important velocity, you should know when to cut off. More velocity also is not there. So you should have an accuracy of 0.0001. I say 4 zeros and 1. So we use accelerometer to cut off the engine when the necessary velocity has been achieved. And gyros are meant for a signal for an initial reference to the spacecraft. So both the hardware will be tested in the in-loop simulation in the chamber, in the ground, and it will be calibrated. And these are all called reaction wheels, which impart a momentum to the spacecraft by rotating. So 4 reaction wheels rotate in wherever way you want. The satellite can be rotated, maneuvered without a thruster by these wheels. We call it as reaction wheels. This is a passive system which can work for say 1 lakh or 2 lakh hours. A non-stop rotation it can do. This is also one of the systems. And one thing we faced in Mars mission is especially, we didn't have the huge energy launch vehicle like Americans or Russians to go to Mars. What you need is a velocity should be imparted by the rocket when it reaches a particular orbit. That velocity is very huge for Mars orbiter kind of missions. So we need to do only with our launch vehicle PSLV, which is not a high thrust launch vehicle like what Americans has. So we devised a new way of going to Mars. It is not in the textbook. Because textbook says you should have a huge rocket. That rocket will directly put you in mass transfer trajectory when you launch it from the Earth, and you keep going. For me to reach Mars transfer trajectory itself, I don't have energy. So what we did is, We circled Earth 10 times. Increase what apogee, height. Slowly, closely went towards moon. Not to the moon, near to the moon. Moon will push. Which means we are getting energy from other celestial object because we don't have energy. So moon will push and make the apogee higher. So the gravitational forces of other planets, which are buying the gravity for other planets, simple take gravity, we call it gravity assist, we call it. So when I go near towards moon, moon will give its energy and I will come back with the required energy. So this 11 circling calls for crossing Van Allen belt, which is something like 20,000 kilometers. You have the red zone where it is full of electric charges. And no country will dare to go into this because you are carrying an electric system and going into an electric charged environment will totally upset the processor. But we took a risk because it is a radiation atmosphere. As you know very well, the computer which we are using today will not work above 10 kilometers because they are not radiation hardened. So spacecraft will have processors which are highly radiation dosage because the space is full of nuclear and cosmic radiation. So the processor which we use in the ground cannot be used in space. So we have high radiation tolerant system which are very expensive. That is why spacecrafts are expensive. The processors are very expensive to the level of crores. So, and you don't get also because there is an embargo by countries that it will not be, you can't get it also on export. So we need to, so what we did is whatever radiation tolerant processes we had, we subjected to high doses in the ground to know whether it works because that particular 1000 K rad and all Americans won't give us. So that's how. So we have to have our own 9 K rads for packages and 15 K rads. That is kiloradians is a dosage, we call it. So it should not fail. We put a limit also, threshold value when it will fail. These are all MeV per centimeter is a radiation level, forget about it. So 140 and 80 are the latch up. So when any upset happens, when these radiation doses are happening, our processor should not hang. The control system processor is the brain of the satellite. If it hangs, okay, here you have got some mechanism to reboot. There also we have a mechanism to reboot, but we don't like to do it. So this processor has to sustain. And we were forced to cross the Van Allen belt because of our own launch vehicle energy levels. And incidentally, it brought the low-cost mission because of that. That is also another factor. So we took risk, I must say, at a risk. And in fact, every country was watching whether we will survive with this. In fact, we survived. And the thermal environment also is, we have put the average thermal, the direct solar and the mean effect is 589 watts per meter square is a solar load coming into the spacecraft. With that load also, I should maintain the temperature of the spacecraft to the required temperature. This is how we made. Without going for a huge system, we avoided looking at sun some phases. We oriented the spacecraft in sun such a way sun load doesn't come in. When sun goes away, we look at moon. So this kind of orientation techniques we first time employed to ensure that spacecraft system doesn't get into a hot or cold case conditions. And this is launch configuration. Whatever you see in the start, a bare metal structure has been now fully assembled, and you see the two star sensors and the reflector high gain antenna for communicating. And those silvery things are the radiator, thermal radiators. They radiate heat into cold space to keep the temperature of the satellite constant. And we deploy this in our zero gravity facility to ensure that, because we have to simulate the zero gravity in ground, because they are deploying in zero gravity conditions. So we deploy this to ensure that it functions. And this is how we illuminate the solar panel and test whether their power levels and efficiency are fine. And this is the 2.2 meter reflector meant for communicating during Mars phase. We deploy that also to ensure whether it deploys. And whatever gold things what you see are meant for thermal control systems to maintain the temperature. And this we put it in a large space simulation chamber. We call it a thermovac chamber. And all the space conditions will be simulated. And it will be inside this chamber for a month, going through a lot of trials what it will go in space. And we test to ensure that all the systems temperatures are fine, all the systems are working, processes are working. This is one of the huge tests which is done at the last stage of the spacecraft before it is lifted to. And this is one new test we did as a part of Mars mission. We simulated sun load and put it under chamber to ensure that the sun load doesn't impair any of those electronic packages or systems. This is also we did on a 15 days test to ensure that sun reflection doesn't or sun load doesn't affect us. And this is an electromagnetic interference test which we all of you may be knowing. In an chamber we do this to know the frequencies doesn't collide. And this is what it looks like when we integrate into the launch vehicle PSLV. You can see both sides the heat shield is ready for closing. And this is how the satellite was inside the heat shield. And these stations were used as a part of this mission because it's an interplanetary mission. We have an antenna in Bangalore which can see the satellite for 12 hours a day. When the satellite goes to other part of the globe, we needed JPL or NASA's antennas in California and Madrid and Australia to navigate the spacecraft, and that information will come to us. So this is a kind of international collaboration for the monitoring and tracking of the satellite. And we used SD1, SD2. We parked 2 ships in Pacific Ocean near Fiji Island for the separation of the satellite from the rocket happens in that. To ensure that proper separation happens, whether separation has happened, we used the shipborne terminal for the first time. We carried the shipborne terminal from all the way from Visakhapatnam to Fiji Island and parked it there, and it tracked the launch vehicle. And you see Alcantara, Cuba, Madrid, HPK in Australia, and Mauritius, Port Blair, and Brunei, Bayak are the stations, international stations which we used for monitoring for almost a year, 1.5 years of time. And this is a operation complex where all the displays and probably I think you have visit to this place by your college students who are interested also can be had. It's quite interesting to know the whole control of the whole spacecraft for India is in this place. And this is a launch vehicle which we use PSLV, which is 320. And this also called for the last stage of the rocket to go into a cold space because of the mission scenario. That also we have simulated. And we launched it on November 5 on 2013. And launcher has put spacecraft in 248 kilometers from the ground. So from this, it is a job of this satellite to come around the Earth, get out of the Earth, and go into the Martian orbit and get inserted. So the engine which I showed in the first slide will do the rest of the job. Launcher will put only up to 248 kilometers and their job is done. So from this, from the departure date I have put, we circled the Earth something like 10 or 11 times to increase the velocity. So I have put here the velocity is 2.5 kilometers second is the velocity requirement. The boost you want to get out of Earth, I want 1.5 kilometers per second. And to reach Mars, I have to break it at Mars. I need 1.1 kilometers per second. So 2.5 kilometers per second is the velocity requirement. which we cannot do by a rocket. So which we do this kind of earth-bound maneuvers to increase energy, then get into Martian transfer trajectory, and we got inserted into Mars on 24th on 2014 after 10 months. So Mars at departure you can see, and Mars at capture also you can see. So we have to chase the planet and most in this solar system. Both will be traveling. So we were going at the back of the Mars, and at the time of insertion, we overtook Mars in fact, faced Mars in the front and got into its gravitational pull. This is how we did this. So this is the earthbound maneuvers we do. 6 earthbound maneuvers we did. If you see even every earthbound maneuvers, we will increase the velocity. This is what we wanted. The apogee, the height you see, EBN 5, we reached up to 1.9 lakhs kilometers. After this, we imported a velocity of 1.5 kilometers, and it went into trans-Mars injection in hyperbolic orbit towards Mars. So this is how from 23,550 kilometers apogee, we did this maneuver due to the engine firing and due to the push of moon. We could increase the height each time we get the increased height. And trans-Martian injection was done on 4th December, and we went around the sun. And during the course of the journey, 10 months, we need to do 2 corrections, small corrections, because it was observed to be deviating from the trajectory because of the sun effect. We did 2, normally 4 corrections are allowed, so we did only 2 corrections. So it is like this, challenging to go to Mars as told by JPL, NASA director is this: if you go outside and hit a golf ball towards Los Angeles, the golf ball has to come straight into the cup from India. It is not from Los Angeles. But the beauty is, the hole is also moving. So this is the whole thing is not that hole is static. So I have to hit from a ball from India to Los Angeles, but Los Angeles, the shift is so, the accuracy, the demands are more. The thing, when the planets are moving at a particular velocity, you also should move along with that and get into some precision. And this is the crucial Martian maneuver, getting into Mars orbit. When it comes towards Mars, we reoriented the spacecraft. Here we have to break the satellite. Suppose if you don't break here, it keeps on going out of the solar system. So the system is simple. So we have projected trajectory such that it goes out of the system, solar system only. But it happened to see the Mars, so you break it at Mars and get into its gravity. It is very simple. So when we started, what happened? 423 kilometers we got into the target orbit is 423, but we got into the orbit of something like 500 and odd, then started braking. See, the 25 minutes, what I show in the dotted line, is the 25 minutes of terror we call it as, because Earth is here, Mars itself will block the communication. We know engine has started firing. After that, Mars blocked the satellite and we lost the communication. So we were waiting for the satellite to come out of the Mars eclipse to know whether it has reached. So this 25 minutes was a terror. So as you know now, without autonomy to the spacecraft, because communication is blocked, and it happens, I know it has started capturing Mars, but whether it has fully captured Mars, I will know after 25 minutes. The 25 minutes is blocked by Mars itself, so that I don't get the communication. But even the exit also, it was not visible to Bangalore antenna. It was visible to Australian antenna of NASA, and they were the first to announce. Till then we were waiting with bated breath. They told first word India and Mars. So that was a pleasing word which we got from Canberra station from Australia to know we have reached Mars. Then probably we got the communication. This is one of the primary reason we wanted to have full autonomy done on the spacecraft, because there are occasions Mars can block the communication. So these are all the credits to our Mars mission, the unique launch trajectory. As I told, it is not a textbook trajectory. And in fact, NASA has formed a team to know whether how this different trajectory will get into Mars. Because the offshoot is you get a low cost access. You need not have a huge rocket or a huge money to say this. So they were following this mission throughout to understand whether how Indians are going to reach Mars with this kind of approach, which has not been done earlier. And this is the first interplanetary mission to India, and the first spacecraft to escape the sphere of influence of Earth and orbit Sun. So we have never orbited Sun, even now after this. And we are the first to succeed in the first attempt. So all, I think Americans are fourth or fifth attempt, Russians are sixth attempts, and we were the first to succeed in the first attempt. And to our luck or something, same time, because you get to go to Mars once in 26 months only, not you can't go in every. That is a time. The position of the Mars in Earth is like that, you need to spend least energy. Not that every day you can go, but no country will attempt on that. So only on that particular window only, everyone tries to go in that. Though that year 2014 happens to be that year. So that time MAVEN, one more spacecraft of NASA also was coming along with us. And in fact we need to deconflict because he also wanted the Australian antenna when he get inserted into Mars. So he wanted to know whether you reach first or I reach first. So we deconflicted and we said, okay, we reach first. So we reached first and he followed us a second, 2 days after. So both antennas, we also reached. But MAVEN is an excellent spacecraft, I must say, compared to us in terms of science exploration, because they have gone to Mars so many times. So it's not a new thing for them. But the accuracy levels achieved were better. Our mission achieved after reaching Mars 423 kilometers was our orbit. Because of the techniques of ranging and navigation things we used, we reached within accuracy of say 1 kilometer. And they could make it only in 7 kilometers accuracy. So Indian at 423 was 422 plus or minus 1 was our targets. We reached within 1 kilometer. So is a question, after traveling this so much distance of 400 kilometers, reaching within 1 kilometer is by the ranging techniques we adopted. A new technique of using quasars for ours and stars for our navigation helped us. And okay, for us, for them, okay, 7 kilometers, maybe modeling, so many errors. The modeling in the ground is one of the challenges. You have to model all the parameters of the solar system, the disturbances, the dynamics of the spacecraft, which is one of the very great subject if anyone is passionate about it, because these are all, the solar activity actually changes every instant. The sun is one thing which can disturb the satellite for interplanetary missions. Many satellites were lost, or even star sensor which I told, which is supposed to look at stars. There are missions which failed because sun flares have come and they have blinded the sensors. So you won't know where the sensors. So it's all of the mercy of sun. But we are living because of the sun also, it is different. But this is one thing. And the most economical interplanetary mission in the world acknowledged by International Aerodynamic Society. And we achieved this one in 450 crores. Comparison, I don't want to compare, but 6,000 crores is their budget. But theirs is, if you say payload mass fraction, they are better, I must say. Because for them, technological challenges are nil, because they have gone to Mars so many times. So for us, it is the first time. And the shortest period, the 15 months, we are asked to do, because that launch window happens in 2014. If you misses that, you have to wait for another 2 years. So really we worked almost 24/7, but they took 6 years. MAVEN spacecraft of NASA took 6 years. But this is one thing I did, and the youngest team, probably, I didn't go for old people in my team. Of course, I was the oldest man, that time I was 15. So the youngest average age group, I selected fresh people also, 5 people. In fact, one of the lady stayed at the college. She did that Delta Divor which I did. She took it on herself, saying that I will do it. And she did it also. So point is, all young team, I said they are very good. They are, see, I give a problem because I have 15 months, problems are plenty. I call one young engineer and tell this is a problem. He comes next day with the solution. That is a kind of team I had. Really fantastic. So this is an young team. In fact, Chairman was apprehensive. You have taken young team. We should have such a mission, a mature team for veterans in satellites and mission planning. He said, no. We will do. We are older people have to do that. But they achieved. So, and Valiant belt also we crossed 39 times in a highly electrical charged belt without an upset on the processor. We did it. And full scale onboard autonomy. That is, you need not control the spacecraft. Spacecraft will find its fault, isolate and reconfigure, keep working without a human intervention. And we use shipborne terminals to track the launch vehicle for the first time. And we were the first. Till then, for the sake of confidentiality, we didn't go to your Facebook or this thing. So what Twitter and Facebook, when we decided to go with approval of Prime Minister at that time, because we were supposed to keep quiet in all our missions, so he went to PM and asked whether we can go offline. But the question is, they were apprehensive. In case of failure, people will be so many afraid. But I was confident, saying that it will be successful. But what happened is, whenever we do some maneuvers, we do some calculations, computation, which it takes 1 or 2 days from our side, and finally arrive at a velocity, say 1 point, it will be 10-digit number. And I post that in Facebook or Twitter. You could see the student community, especially, I was amazed the Indian younger generation power. Many people corrected my velocity. Sir, we calculated the velocity is different. So really it was amazing that whole Indian engineering community was calculating based on our calculation and advising us, correcting us. So it was really, that time only we felt that definitely we should go online for all our missions henceafter. So we did that. It was the first mission to go online, to tell the whole community what we are doing without hiding any facts. This is Roosevelt thing which I liked so much. So the world is not changed by those who are unwilling to take risk. We should take risk. So because you will not know whether to taste victory or defeat. Don't be on a darker side or a brighter side every time. So we took a huge risk and we won in that. Jai Hind. See, I am leaving the presentation with you. I want people to go through in detail. Some of the interested are passionate. And you just be in touch with email. Any question. You don't worry about whether you are asking a very, very fundamental question or an advanced question. I want the team to come forward with some questions.
Hello. Check. Check. Hello.
Any questions?
Check. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir. I am Priyarani from 5th SEM CSE of Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College. Thank you for such a nice talk. I wanted to ask you that what are the possibilities of humans or other living beings to live on Mars?
Good question. So, one of the primary aims of all the space agencies to go in search of these planets, either Moon or Mars or Venus or Saturn, is to find primarily energy sources. The demand of the Earth is energy today, whether it is nuclear or thermal or coal. And the name, you can name, suppose Moon has got, you can Google also find out, lot of helium-3. Helium-3, if it is successfully proven to produce electricity, works are on by many agencies. One drop of helium-3 is enough to power India for a year. So such potential resources of energy are available in Moon and Mars. So this is a fundamental search for energy, which normally every space agency do undergo, because we are getting depleted in terms of energy. And the straight question asked, one of the scientific exploration we did is whether life existed in Mars or not. Why Mars is like this? Mars is an active planet. It is not like you get every 5 minutes or 1 second volcano eruptions, dynamism. It is not like Earth. It is full of volcanic activities, whatever it is. It has modded to the extent and carbon dioxide prominence. So point is, whether life existed or if we continue to treat our home planet like this, whether we will be like Mars once, we will be leading towards that kind of situation or not, is one of the fundamental search which is happening. So we find normally methane as a fundamental factor for living organisms to live. So every space agency takes this kind of instrument to find whether methane existed or not. There are positive clues. Water existence also is proven. So the question is, the habitation of Mars by human is possible, it is going to happen. But today it will look to all of us as some kind of fantasy. I will not say whether it will happen or... See, if you think in a larger spectrum, all of you want to think in larger spectrum, you know sun, because of the sun every planet today is in orbit. Or we are fortunate to be such a good planet thanks to sun, tilt of the space, tilt of the earth and the moon. Actually, nobody has questioned what is the relevance of moon for us. What happens if moon is not there? Nobody would have asked. If moon is not there, we are not here. So that is a condition. So point is, we are so miraculously, we are positioned today for a human being to live. Such fantastic things should happen for any living organisms to live. So definitely Mars is also going to be such a habitable planet, because once you see 5 billion years is the life which has gone in the sun, and another 5 billion years is sun is going to live. That is the life of the sun. Yes. So another 5 billion years, when sun is away, you are not there. But for a sun, a man, suppose a human survival, you survive for 100 years. Sun sees you for only 2 nanoseconds in its lifetime. In the 2 nanoseconds, you have seen so much of exploration of technology, so much of things. You see another 5 billion years of sun, how much of things are going to happen in this earth. So habitation of Mars is going to happen, and it is going to be another home for us, and it is inevitable also. Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable presentation.
I am Shelly Bhattacharjee from the Department of Information Technology. My question to you is it possible to create a habitable state for human being with some basic facilities on the land of Mars?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible. And every organizations are working towards that, including ISRO. The habitation part, what a human being has enjoyed in the earth for its living, everything has been accounted to, and it is being done by all space agencies. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
First of all, sir, I would like to thank you for your such a beautiful presentation. Sir, I am Loknath Ghosh from Electronics and Communication Engineering Department. I want to ask you that, sir, how is the relationship of ISRO with other space research organizations like NASA and CNSA?
Yes, we have very good relations. As you see here in the Mars mission also, they have fully supported us. And it happens, whatever data we collect, it is exchanged with them, they also exchange their data. It happens, and our relationship with all the space agencies in the world are very good. And even European Space Agency or NASA Space Agency, we host their payload in our satellite, and our payloads are going in their satellite. The mutual cooperation is fantastic. Absolutely no issue. See, in this sector, the cooperation matters for all of those space agencies. You can't do space because it's an expensive thing, and going to Mars is very expensive, and few attempts are made or as a successful attempts. So normally the data are shared among all the countries to have the fundamental questions of existence of life, or what happened to the Mars, whether life exists in Mars, and what we should do to habitate. All these are happening as a part of this collaborative program. Yeah. See, Elon Musk, actually, to be frank, we had some set traditional concept in space. Example, any satellite we make, we put it through lot of tests. Suppose I want to have 5 satellites of same class. I don't want to change. All are going to do is I want a constellation. But what we do is all 5 satellites we do extensive tests. The tests in the satellites are time consuming and expensive. So you have to do the thermovac test, you have to do solar simulation test, deployment test, so many tests. Before it comes out of a test successfully, it's a big thing. So this was a traditional followed in ISRO or many of the space agencies. What he did is, he questioned that. I want 2000 satellites to be made. I can't afford to test every one of them. Expensive, time consuming, I can't do it faster. So what he did, he took a risk. He tested only 1 or 2 satellites full extreme. Remaining he will go try to launch pad from the workshop. No test. So he thought he can lose it in space. 1 or 2, no problem. But don't waste time and money here in the earth. So it is a more like disruptive way of looking at it, and he was successful in that because his requirement was to launch huge number of satellites for the Starlink communication system or whatever it is, which he cannot do. Second part is that he could retrieve all the stages of the rocket back. So ours is expendable. So 200 crores is on PSL, we cost 200 crores is gone on launch. But if you are able to recover it again, launch. So that made it more economical for him to launch because he is using only one vehicle for 100 missions. So this is another disruptive way he in fact, all the European Space Agency are so disrupted by that because he is able to do it in a much more economical way and faster, unscalable also.
Sir.
So that is the kind of disruption he made, and his aim is to Mars and habitat, and it's a big thing definitely. And he has got a Starliner, which is a huge capacity rocket today in the world. So it's all possible.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I am Jainul Haq, principal of government school.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you for such a beautiful presentation, and thanks to this Bisirai Society for giving this opportunity to Durgapurians to have this knowledge.
Thank you.
So, sir, Mars is the coldest, one of the coldest. The temperature is near to minus 200 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
As far as my knowledge goes, only methane is available. So, is that all? With this, we can produce the energy. If it is, you are telling it is humanly possible habitat, it is going to be habitat in near future. What are the how the energy requirement will be fulfilled?
I don't get
How the energy requirement, if it is become habitat for human being for there, the energy, so only methane is available, sir.
Okay, the energy, yes. See, now the energy requirement, yes, it is one aspect of the human habitation when you go to that.
This is one of the.
It is one of them. So it is not that today we live in Earth and there are some astronauts living in International Space Station or whatever it is. Their energy requirements for the way of food or whatever it is different from what they are able to survive. Same human, when they go to that kind of station, they cannot afford to eat whatever we eat in the Earth. So it goes in a capsule form or a paste form or whatever it is. So it is a different types which we have devised as a part of the environment. So same thing also has to be envisaged as a part of this habitation when you go to this kind of low extreme temperatures, because eclipses are common in Mars. Not like you have got a solar sun eclipse twice or thrice in a year, but eclipse is every day you get 14 eclipses, it's Mars. You have to live in that condition. It is like Norway, northern part of our globe, living fully in the dark or fully in the light. So they also get used to that. So this is the kind of thing we have to address that issue as a part of this program.
Hello. प्रार्थना कर या रात न भला है.
Sir, for different reasons, we are just going to allow your microphone to function. Okay,
Yeah, please go on. Yeah, please go ahead, ma'am.
I'm a teacher, so I don't need a mic.
Sure, I know that. That's good.
I have 60, 90 students in my class, so I don't need a mic.
Thank you.
Sir, you spoke of Elon Musk. I think somebody spoke of Elon Musk. So is ISRO planning, or does ISRO believe in... Does ISRO believe in commercializing space travel, sir?
Yes. We are now, as you know, as a part of our government policy, the private sectors were allowed with full FDA. So almost 50 odd companies have come up. So we want to go fully commercial with respect to our own regular remote sensing missions or communication satellites, except those interplanetary, those missions, because they are very expensive and it needs a lot of expertise. So the commercial part of the space is now allowed by private parties to also embark upon, and we are supposed to handhold them. And second, as a part of this Elon Musk strategy, whatever you call the recoverable vehicle and space tourism, all are part of our ISRO program, which are approved by the government, and many technology development projects are being undertaken by ISRO as a part of it. Absolutely.
Sir, I am Dr. Partho.
Yeah.
Thank you for your nice presentation. Sure. My question is a simple doubt. You talked about the gravitational force of the Earth. So, as far I remember, Mercury, Venus, Mercury, Venus, then Earth, and this Jupiter. So Jupiter didn't have any role on this gravitational forces?
Exactly. When any spacecraft or any object goes into the solar system, when you leave Earth, now you are fully protected by the magnetic field which is around the Earth and atmosphere and the influence of the sun gravity. You have got your own gravity, so you are protected totally, so you won't feel it. But when you go out of the spell of the Earth's sphere of influence, we call, up to 9 lakhs kilometers, you have the pull. Beyond that, any object is subjected to the push and pull of all the planet's gravitational forces. So what makes it complex, this mission, is you have to model the gravitational forces and the solar radiation pressure. See, now sunlight falls on you. You feel the heat, but you don't feel the pressure. But when an object goes into the space, sun will give the pressure. It will act as a force, not as a heat. So though photons are low masses, when you go at a traveling high speed, they will kick you out, which you won't feel here because you are well protected by ozone layer. So point is, those forces has to be modeled. Solar radiation pressure modeling is a huge task, which goes up to some 20 odd numbers. So all the gravities will play a part on any object which is traveling in the solar system. It is as simple as that. But those planets which are now circling with the perfect timings and cycle, they are perfect. But a new body you see our spacecraft is 1,000 kilograms. You are a dust particle in the whole, not even a dust particle. And you need to communicate with that dust particle and ensure that it reaches Mars. It is a tough task. In the whole scale, if you see, it is very, very complicated. Thank you. It's a good question.
Thank you so much, sir, for this beautiful presentation that a layman can understand the space technology. I have a question which is a bit technical because EC students are here. They have also same question. You have talked about the deep space communication.
Yeah.
So in deep space communication, one of the challenges you have already mentioned, that is radiation hazard. Radiation hazard is already there. And solar flare is also there. So apart from that, what are the major challenges in deep space communication, sir?
Deep space communication, as I told, the communication has to happen in earthbound. Okay, no issues. You have perfect ether medium to do the job of electromagnetic propagation. No issue. You are able to get a cell phone. But in radiation, charged particle atmosphere, this whatever electromagnetic propagation doesn't work the way what it works in Earth. So is full of noise. As I told that, it is a whisper in a football stadium. So my signal is in a noise spectrum, and satellite has to recognize that noise and accept that as a command coming from me. So it is very tough task because it gets all the kind of vibes around it. But it should not recognize none of those. It recognizes the command given by our team. So that is where the whole trick is. So what means, it should be so sensitive, and at the same time it should be so attenuation has to be so much. Like when an earphone says a noise cancellation, you are simple. You are able to cancel a noise and listen on audio better. But you see the same condition in space, it won't happen like that. You need a lot of techniques for that. So we achieved that. As a part of this is a good question. If you are interested as a part, any of your students, we are ready to help them, because what happens is, the communication system is a system which makes not only for the purpose of communication, but it tells, nobody knows today, it tells the position and velocity of the spacecraft also. By giving a radio frequency wave from the ground to the spacecraft, I will know the position and the velocity of any object in space. Everybody thinks meant is only for communication. No. You can see that NASA do wonders with the antenna. Their antenna, they do a lot of things. Doppler shift, exactly. The Doppler shift, utilization of Doppler shift for deriving more information of your object is a big technological subject by itself. I agree with you. But communication is simple. But we do ranching. Simply we send a signal. You will know where my object is and what velocity with which it goes and what angle it takes in the space. Yeah.
About the mission like future travel of human to Mars, can you throw a light how it will be conceptualized and how they'll sustain for 6, 7 months, 8 months? Because as just I learned little about it, it will take months to reach Mars, and I mean lot of complexity in the maneuver and as you told. So how you have conceptualized the human travel to the Mars, and is there any research going on like how to sustain life for at least 1 year?
Is a good question. But point is, as you know that as a spacecraft, is an unmanned spacecraft, it is subjected to lot of nuclear and cosmic radiation on its travel, which definitely human cannot sustain. Our human body is not meant to do that. Spacecraft, we can do that. A processor, a computer processor in the system, spacecraft, I can make in such a way that it will sustain all the radiation doses, still start functioning. So it's a piece of metal. But with respect to human, no. So these can cause a lot of issues of sustainability and survivability for any human to go. So the rating that whatever spacesuit they make are a must for such kind of travel, and it is being envisaged as a part of mission. It is not a big thing to be, but it calls for an additional extra, we call it as EVL, or kind of extra vehicular activities, extra vehicular activity when you want to do. Even to International Space Station, when they want to come out of the station to do some work outside the station for repairing of solar panel, everything, it needs some other kind of suits for them. So the cosmic radiation is definitely not human rated, so we have to have our own mechanism to survive on that. It is being done as a part of it. Even ISRO also we are doing as a part of this. So.
Thank you, everyone. Here we come to the end of this interactive session. Thank you very much, sir, for your prolific and informative session. Your deliberation will actually act as a medium of motivation, inspiring our today's youngsters to tomorrow's successful professional. With this, may I request our August gathering to once again stand up and applaud this chief guest of ours with a big round of applause and a standing ovation.
Say hello.
Any formal occasion remains incomplete without a piece of acknowledgement and without a bit of thank you. And to do the honors, may I now invite on stage Honorable Professor Dr. Sanjay S. Power, Principal, Dr. B.C. Roy Engineering College, Durgapur, to deliver his closing statement. Thank you, sir. Sir, please, you're welcome.
Thanks a lot, sir. Actually, it was like attending a space course and knowing all the subjects related to this. Dear students, again, really for us, it is a gem lecture, and probably we would review this lecture again and again, and my students and staff member will look into always the collaboration as well as the association with ISRO. I'm sure some of the students will communicate with you with respect to the projects of respective areas. Thanks once again. I'm really thankful for your accepting our invitation and 25-year celebration of our institute. And we will ensure whatever the expectations you came with here, probably some of us will be solving those things. To us, all of us, of course, as we have seen, one more important, as an engineer, after passing any B.Tech degree, you may not remain an electronics or computer or mechanical engineer. You have to be all engineers and so on. the mission or the task like the missions of the Mars and so on, we also can understand the challenges, the tasks, and the accuracy with which we have to receive. It's like completing a 100 course with a 100% marks. That's what the first time we have done with the scientists, with sir and so on. So I'm really again thankful to sir for accepting our invitation. Thanks to Dr. B.C. Roy Society members here for inviting sir here, and on this occasion of 25 years of a celebration, our silver jubilee, which will be continuing, and we will be expecting such more lectures to ensure whatever the expectations from the society, the expectation from the country, we should be able to contribute to the, from the science and technology point of view as our responsible institute and so on. Thanks all the faculty members, thanks students for attending this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Sir, for your profound and insightful thoughts. Before concluding this momentous occasion today, may I now invite Dr. Dola Sinha, Dr. Tanya Chakraborty, and Dr. Bhashwati Roy for the national anthem. Let us all stand together in reverence and pride for our nation and join with them in singing our anthem, which stands as a symbol of our unity, strength, and patriotism.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंग विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंग। तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तब जय गाथा। जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you all once again for making this occasion a real success. Thank you so much. Students,